recording, and then I hide the webcam. It's definitely still sampling. Can I do like disable? I want to see if I can, because I can't simultaneously have my webcam on the recording and then have it like on Discord. It's the operating system fights for where to send the signal. I think. Is there a way for me to? Don't think so. Deactivate. Oh, deactivate worked. Okay, cool. And then, yeah, here, I'll turn on my camera just for the like initial hellos. There we go. Hi. Hello, William. Oh, hey, Dion. Yo. Oh, people are coming in. This is good.
One of my friends said he'd show up. Not sure if he is. He said he'd try. But
okay. No, solid. Solid.
Oh.
Oh.
Just got my mic on.
Hello.
If you said anything, I did not hear it.
No, it's okay. I said hello. I said hello.
Hello.
Nothing more. Hi. Oh man. Oh, Mike. Oh, it's good to see you guys. It's been man. Whew.
Yeah.
How was your summer? How's everyone's summer?
Great.
Solid.
It's good.
Nice.
Good summer.
Up to anything? Chase, what about you? Do anything in summer?
What am I doing?
Yeah.
What I do? I actually did not do very much of anything.
Okay, what?
I sat around.
Okay, I mean, play video games? What video games did you play? Yeah. I don't know. You did something. Salmon. Yo.
I don't really remember what I was doing in the summer. I was more of just hanging out. Oh, well, I played D&D with my friends. So I was just chilling out.
That's excellent.
That was my senior year.
Nice. Okay, got you. You're, wait, are you starting your senior year right now?
This is my freshman year of college, senior year of high school last year.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, that is the summer to mess around. Absolutely. Great. Excellent strategy. Great. Yeah, good call. Oh man, that was that summer for me was actually like 600 hours of Escape from Tarkov with two of my best friends. I distinctly remember. I was also going through a really bad breakup, so I just sort of like stayed inside and played games to numb it away.
Sorry to hear about that, man.
No, it's we all have our experiences. It's that's just you gave me flashbacks to what was like both some of the happiest, best gaming experiences in my life, like middle of COVID, nothing to do. And I was actually also, I think I started doing lectures.
That was your COVID year?
I think it was COVID, yeah. It was the summer before.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's right around when COVID.
Did you graduate high school in 2020 then?
Yeah, class of 2020. Indeed.
That was my senior year of high school.
That's my year.
Gotcha. We'll get started in a minute. I'm gonna let some more people join. Salmon, I welcome. Hello. UF. What's up? Wait, you also have an S triple dot as your is like a streamer mode? Streamer mode enabled. That's why. Whereas S triple dot, wait, is that your friend? Come on, this can't be a coincidence.
No, that's not my friend.
That's crazy. Wait, that's crazy.
My friend goes to FSU. I go to UF.
Gotcha. It's because I had streamer mode on. Oh, I know. I see. I'm gonna turn streamer mode back on. Yeah, because Streamlabs kicked that on. I see what's going on. I'm recording this, everybody. I did start recording already, but yeah, just so everyone knows. I don't know, two-party state, consent, etc.
Where's the waiver? I didn't know.
Yeah, my bad. My bad. There we go. Oh man, yeah. This is it's exciting. It's exciting. It's been a long time. I had some issues putting together the PowerPoints because they start lagging when there's too many GIFs. But I fixed it by like making new PowerPoints and then like moving everything over. I don't know why, but yeah, I don't know. Some of the old.
It's crazy that GIFs would lag it.
Well, they're pretty high resolution, right? Some GIFs are like on the order of like 30 megabytes. So
Shit.
Yeah, but I would think it would try to like downscale them or something.
uh,
In the little thumbnail.
it doesn't. It doesn't. Look, it's
Or
they.
not play them or something. Ooh, wow.
500 megabytes.
No. 500 megabytes is the biggest number that it'll show, but it's more than 500
Oh.
underneath. It should be more
Oh,
than 500.
no.
Google supposedly has like limits on the size, but they don't tell you, and you don't know until all of a sudden your PowerPoints a few years down the line like start dropping images randomly. It's the weirdest thing.
I was about to say you better be playing for Google One, because if you didn't, that would be like 1/30 of your.
We sure are. We
Google
sure
Drive,
are.
yeah.
We sure are. Yeah.
It's
Oh god, we
crazy.
got to get rid of these old recordings from what is this, from the UF era? Oh yeah, there it is. Wow, good times. Jesus, long time ago. All right.
Why would you want to get rid of this? Archive this. Put it
No,
on
I mean
flash.
upload them to YouTube and then drop them from Google Drive. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
They need to go on YouTube. We'll figure it out. I think they're already on YouTube and we just have like raw copies of the stuff. What's everyone's experience level with Blender?
Very beginner.
Very beginner.
I have made one thing.
Right, the landing craft.
Mhm.
Here, while we wait for like, I'll let it go to 3:10. I'll give us 8 more minutes. If that's okay with you guys. I'm sorry. Hope no one feels their time is being too wasted. You think 3:10 is good? I think 3:10. 3:10 is good. We can
I am very free today.
we can speed model something. What do we want to make something? Speed model.
What is
yeah.
your forte?
I don't know. Oh my! Some people. Oh, there's another press. Gex, hello, welcome. Oh, that's a hell of a profile background. Hello, Gex. My forte for whatever reason, every time that I'm like modeling something really fast, I just find myself making these little like jet engine glider things.
Holy crap. This would take me hours.
Don't worry. It'll take you minutes by the end of the day. Don't worry. And then just like
I'm already lost.
I just
Alec did a Blender workshop
That's
at
crazy.
FSU 1 week, and I was so lost like 2 minutes in.
Don't worry. It's gonna be good. I promise. Blender is definitely. It's gonna be better than God, Maya. They try to like. I don't know. I don't like Maya very much. I like Blender a lot, but we'll see.
I like Blender because it's free.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like $3 million a year. It's very free. That is a pretty good thing. Okay. There's a few more people in 304. We'll just do 305. I'll just get started. I think that's safer. But yeah, welcome everybody. Here, I'm gonna turn off my camera. And I'm gonna turn it back on the recording. And there we go. Cool. Okay. Hi everybody. An intro to 3D modeling. Yeah. Been excited to give this for like a week now. Let me just set up my other monitor. There we go. Okay. So yeah, we're gonna be talking about Blender on behalf of DevLUp HQ. Yay. That's us. A brief introduction. Who am I? I'm Michael. I'm a senior at the University of Florida. I used to run alongside a pretty big team of people, one of which is William here, the UF Game Developers Association. And then we turned that into DevLUp, and now DevLUp has like multiple branches. So if you're here today, there was some confusion earlier. This is like the headquarters Discord, but there is a branch Discord for FSU, for UF, for FAU, and for FIT. We're not really encouraging the FAU Discord just because it needs leadership right now. So like we're kind of just like giving them hospitality here on the DevLUp Discord until like a leader emerges. Hopefully there's more hype this year. There's like a really old, long graduated senior from FAU that's running that. Anyways, that's a long story. What's today about? Today's about 3D modeling. 3D modeling is widely applicable, like everywhere, right? Help from like computer aided design where you're doing like mechanical stuff to entertainment applications, which is more of what we're focused on today with Blender. Blender is an insane piece of software. It's amazing. Blender is one of the biggest successes in like the open source community, in terms of like a software that just has so much funding because it's so good and it just keeps itself going. I mean, it is developed so aggressively and it just keeps crushing other paid software. Like, if your name starts with Adobe, Blender is coming for you. Is kind of like the vibe. They hell, lately with geometry nodes, they're kind of going for Houdini's features. There's all this paid software that Blender just crushes. I've used it for video editing before. You can do sound stuff. You can do crazy things on it. What do you need to participate today? Optimally, a mouse. A mouse would be really good. It would be really, really great if you have a mouse and not a trackpad. But mouse will do. Trackpad will do as well. This is some of my work. I don't know, just a little flex from just establishing credibility, right? Isn't that what the English teachers taught us to do at the start of presentations? But I really like 3D modeling airplanes and aircraft and things like that. You'll probably notice that come up. This is like augmented reality thing, a little Roman house from Unreal Engine. And I also work on like drones, and I do like airflow simulation stuff sometimes. So this is like me messing around with an old F-22 Raptor model that I made and just putting it in SolidWorks and having some fun. But anyways, so that's me. I like planes. Today we're gonna be spending like about 15 minutes learning, doing about 20 minutes of messing around together on Blender. Some more learning for 40 minutes roughly, and then just hang out until about 5 p.m. Maybe you guys ask some questions along the way. But yeah, I mean, optimally, I think we'll wrap this up around like 4:20, 4:30, and you guys can head out whenever after that. I mean, obviously you can head out whenever you want to, but it would be, I think, best to stick around until then. Some further ado, I'm about to post the PowerPoint link. The video is going to be uploaded to YouTube, and I will get some additional resources out. I ran out of time to like make a little, what to do after the presentation guide of like what tutorials to follow on Blender. But I'll try to aggregate some resources, and they're going to be posted in the forum channel right here. You guys, I think, should be able to see this 2023 content. There's like forum posts here. And they're going to have that content in there. Yeah. Also, Wargames, right? Why are you here today? We're preparing for war, right? So, November 10th to November 12th is going to be a little game jam. If you don't know what that is, it's like 48 hours to make a game, closer to 50 hours here, among all the DevLUp branches. So yeah, the idea is to just sort of have like a little competitive game jam, and UF is going to be training people in Unity, and FSU is going to be training people in Godot. And here on the DevLUp HQ Discord, I'm going to be doing Unreal Engine, and of course other generic skills like Blender is pretty universally applicable. But the idea is that optimally, what I would really like to see is some kids from FIT or FAU to just like really crush, like do really, really well, because they don't really have game dev communities. So to see them like come in and MOG UF or FSU would be really, really cool, and I would be really proud of them. So I'm gonna be like the sports team coach. That's sort of the vibe. I've got some camo pajama pants on today as well. You can't see them, but it's an important element of the theme. So anyways, every game jam needs a team. Every team vaguely needs these roles. An artist and a programmer, I think, are like the two biggest the biggest like dichotomy in game development roles. But beyond that, there's also the role of like a technical artist, and that's just sort of a miscellaneous in between position. But technical artists do a lot. So like the animation lecture later today is going to be on that. The lectures and workshops are organized so that I hit like one of these 3 roles every 2 weeks, like every other weekend. That's the idea. But yeah, optimally you pick a role. So you guys are here for what is like art, but I mean 3D modeling is kind of technical. It is pure art, but it's a little technical. So, but I put it under artist. I think it's more of a pure art role. So 3D modeling. Yeah, first things first. I looked up 3D models. I looked up low poly 3D models, and I picked up a little environment like this. And I think the point that I wanted to get across with this slide here is just that it looks complicated at first glance. It looks really complicated. It also looks pretty, kind of. It's a little ugly. We'll talk about that in a second. Honestly, I don't find this to be too aesthetic. But if you break it down, it's not that many different unique 3D models. There's really a small amount of geometry here. And I'll tell you already, like, if you've ever participated in a game jam before, the level of visual fidelity that is present just in this image exceeds what most people are able to put out in a game jam. And I mean, granted, you know, this is just art. Like, functionality is what really makes a game fun. But visual fidelity is important, and it's very rare that people achieve good visual fidelity. Usually because they don't really have experience with modeling, or they don't have like a dedicated artist that can efficiently model. But you can see it's very, very simple. Like there's a tree over here. This tree's a quick model. We got windows. These like little barrels are kind of all over the place. There's a lot of duplicated stuff. We got this a light post, this boat, this stairwell, this little like water wheel thing over here. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. So the last model was kind of ugly. Let's look at this. This is a little bit prettier. The visual fidelity is better, but the geometry is not that much more complex. What changed is there's lighting on this one compared to this guy. There's significantly better lighting. And I just wanted to clear that up because you're going to be working today, and you're going to be looking at your work, and you're going to be like, man, that looks kind of ugly. Or like, oh, I don't know. I'm not happy with like the visual fidelity of what I'm making in Blender. And the point that I wanted to get across is just to brace you for the fact that in Blender, everything's gray, everything's ugly, and it's good to work in an uglier environment, because if you get to the point where it looks decent in the ugly lighting, when you import it into Unreal Engine, it'll look this good. Also, another point to this slide is that by the end of the day, I think that you guys are going to be able to like whip up several of the elements from like this top diorama or this bottom one. Like that's my goal here, is that you know just enough to do kind of a low poly style. And you know, these trees are sort of organic, but this building right here, easy. You guys could do this building. This building is like a cube with a couple of extrusions. So we're gonna do that, and we'll get to that. Anyways. So let's get started. Don't open up Blender yet. There will be we'll do a moment where I say, you know, hands off. All right, everybody, let's go mess around and share your screens and all that. But for now, I just wanted to break down the viewport a little bit. So lots of buttons. Let's forget about them for now. There's a lot of buttons when you first open Blender. This is what it's going to look like. In fact, let me make my thing the laser pointer. There we go. Yeah. 3D modeling revolves around geometry, and we're going to get straight into modeling in a second, but what I wanted to get across is that today's not going to focus on colors. It's not going to focus on textures. We're just going to be focusing on geometry, the vertices, the edges, the faces. That last, you know, diorama with a little tropical environment and the aesthetic building, lots of colors there, lots of lighting, and it's very easy to set those up, believe it or not, but we're just not going to focus on that today. Blender does way more than just 3D modeling. It does so much more. It does rendering. It does like real-time rendering. It does path tracing. It does like fluid simulations. That's why there's so much stuff in Blender. But you can get away with ignoring most of it. We're really only going to focus on a fraction of what you see in this window. And there's like a million other interfaces for Blender. We're not gonna touch them. So I'm going to go over the basic keybinds, and then I'm going to set you guys loose in just a second. But it's very important that you get very comfortable with like the most fundamental pieces. And the most fundamental pieces are middle mouse button. This is how you rotate your view around. This is why a trackpad is kind of rough. If you are on a trackpad, you can click and drag this little guy and like rotate around. Scrolling lets you zoom in and out. Holding shift and middle mouse button lets you pan your view, which is what I'm doing over here right now. Yeah. And so that's like 2-3 keybinds, right? Middle mouse button. That's it. Middle mouse button is like the hub of how you move around your view. Shift to pan, scroll to zoom. The other 6 keybinds that are true almost everywhere in Blender, you'll see what I mean in a second, are grab, rotate, scale, GRS. This is how you see. I'm grabbing this cube on the right. I'm scaling it now, and then XYZ lets you constrain almost any operation in Blender to an axis. And you'll be surprised, like this works in places you wouldn't expect it to work in Blender. You'll be like dragging a two-dimensional interface icon and you'll press Y and it'll just lock to the Y axis. Like they reuse these keybinds everywhere. So it's good to know. GRS, grab, rotate, scale. And then if you press XYZ while you're in the middle of an operation, you can constrain it to the X axis. So again, on the right, this cube, I'm going to grab it, moving it on the X-axis, the Y-axis, the Z-axis. I can scale it on the X-axis, or the Y-axis, or the Z-axis. Yeah. Okay. And the last thing before I set you guys loose in a second, because this is like 40% of the challenge of Blender is getting familiar with these. We're now up to like 6 keybinds, right? We have middle mouse button, shift middle mouse button, and then we have GRS, XYZ. The last thing is edit mode. So going from object mode to edit mode, it's on the top left of the Blender viewport. You'll see it in a second. But what edit mode does is it lets you manipulate geometry rather than just transform an object around. So Blender, and I mean this is true for most software that works with 3D stuff. There's objects. Everything's object oriented in programming and Blender, whatever. But not all objects are meshes. So we'll see that in a second. But if it is a mesh, edit mode lets you manipulate the geometry. We're going to start by learning about extrusion in a second. But really the point is just that in object mode, you're editing the whole cube, the whole character, the whole building, the whole tree. In edit mode, you can select individual vertices, edges, and faces. A vertex, that's the singular. That's a point, in case anyone was confused. But that's what points are in geometry. So these 3 icons right here correspond with the ability to select either vertices, edges, or faces. And if you hold shift, it lets you select multiple. So again, we did RGS. E to extrude, we'll do that in a second, and deletion is X. You can do a lot with just those operations. RGS, rotate, grab, scale. XYZ, constrain those operations. E to extrude, I know I haven't shown you what extrusion is yet. X to delete. But just with these, I modeled everything that you see here in the span of about like 15 minutes using just E, RGS. So that's like no other keybinds, no other Blender knowledge. Just enter edit mode and start pressing those buttons, and you're bound to make something. It might not look like anything. It might be a mishappened piece of geometry, but you can do all of this using just those keybinds. Before we get our hands dirty, the last thing I want to tell you about is Control Z. Control Z is your friend, but Blender limits you to using it only like 25 times. Like it stores the last, I think, 25 things by default. You can turn that up in the settings, figure that out. And if you accidentally zoom out like crazy and you lose yourself, you just press Shift C and it centers yourself. So I know it's a lot. We're gonna rock back through it in a second, but I kind of just want to let you guys loose on Blender to experiment with these things. So if everyone would like to open up Blender and follow along, I know I went super fast through all of that, but let's all crack open Blender, shall we? How many of you, is there anyone here that is not like rocking this on 2 monitors or something today? I'd imagine that's probably the majority, but I just feel free to like use comms to respond. Is everyone on like I don't want to ping like I hear who's
Yeah, that'd be me.
Okay, solid. That's okay. I'm not gonna make you guys like, yeah, I just want you to get comfortable in the Blender interface. So I'm going to set a timer for like 5 minutes here, and I would really like it if you guys could just fool around using those basic keybinds that we just went over. I'm gonna write them out in the into the high command channel, right? So we have RGS rotate, grab, scale, E to extrude, and this is so first enter edit mode. So how do you enter edit mode? It's this drop down on the top left right here. Top left, drop down. So all you have to do is that. You enter edit mode for the object that you have selected, which in this case is our cube. We have the cube selected here. Edit mode. And then you can do all these different operations on an object. So let's get into edit mode, and yeah, I'm gonna start the timer. Let you guys mess around for a bit. Feel free to share your screens. You don't have to be like muted. This doesn't have to be a completely like one-way thing, you know. Think of it as like it's like a really small lecture hall briefing room.
All right.
Yo, nice. Let's see it. All right, Chase. Yeah, nice.
I'm trying to make a helicopter.
Trying to make a helicopter? Okay, okay.
Ambitious.
It's all right. It's all right. It's not unreasonable. Oh man, the screen sharing is coming along. It's good to see what you guys are up to. I'm gonna put Discord on the stream. It's awesome. Let me. Oh. Here we go. Oh. Nice. Oh, someone has the is that the Maya color scheme? Oh my god. Who Gex? Gex has the is that 3ds Max? What's the color scheme there? It's like it's one of the non-default color schemes that you can load into Blender.
I don't know, man.
If you want, you can change it back to the default, but I won't make you. All I'm
pretty sure this is what I loaded in with.
Interesting. All I'm worried about is like if you also loaded any keybinds that are non-standard. I don't imagine
Everything seems to be working properly.
Yeah, if everything's working fine, that's great. You guys you figured that out pretty fast. You're in edit mode already. Everyone seems pretty comfortable rotating around. A concept that I want to explain is that if you do use shift to pan around, you hold shift and you pan your view around, it's changing the center of rotation. So like imagine there's a 3D point hovering way out in front of your camera. That's the point that you're rotating around. So if you start trying to rotate again after you've panned really far off of the center of your world, you're going to start rotating around some like arbitrary point in space. And that's just something that you need to avoid doing. And if you do it, you could do Shift C to recenter yourself. Shift C will center your view on the center point of all objects in your world. So
I have a question.
Yeah. What's
How
up?
do I, when I'm trying to pull this in, the edges don't move with it. How do I get the edges to move with it?
I see your stream. So did you extrude? Here, do Control Z. Let's do Control Z. All right, now try to just do G. Press G and grab it. Okay, so you have duplicate geometry there. So we'll cover that. That's one of the most. We'll fix that in a second. Here, do Control Z. Okay, real quick, select everything. Sorry, I haven't told you how to do that. Press A. I'm sorry. press M. Press M. M is in Michael.
Yeah, I pressed M.
What? Oh, press 1 on your keyboard first. Let's switch to vertex. Okay, press M. Is it what? It's M. And M is in Michael. I mean, it's not
It's not.
I swear to God, this is a default keybind. Okay, okay. We'll do that in a second. Okay, hold on. Just don't worry about it. Let me go back to the PowerPoint real quick because we're almost on time's up for the 5 minutes. But you've done more than enough. You've done more than enough. I'm gonna tell you exactly why what happened. We'll break that down in just a second. Okay. So I hope everyone got to experiment a bit with RGS and extrude, right? These are like with these basic operations you can do a lot.
Unfortunately, I had to get up, and I basically didn't hear anything you said. You said this would be recorded, right?
It is recorded. Yeah, yeah. I'll put it on YouTube. It's okay, Salmon. I gave everyone some time to work with RGS, like the rotate, grab, and scale buttons. Do you? What did you miss?
I missed basically everything from when you told everyone to open Blender.
Okay, no, we didn't. I haven't done much. I haven't done much since then. I mean, no one's. All I've done is like watched people mess around and commented on it. You didn't miss anything. I'll do a little bit of my own share of messing around here, right? So here's extruding and then scaling. Here's grabbing on the z-axis, an extrude, a scale, an extrude, a scale, extrude, scale, extrude, scale, extrude, scale. Now we have like a weird, it's like a tree but backwards. Like the fattest layer is on top. Anyways, right, just showing off what you can do. If I wanted to rotate this tree on the, I dare call this thing a tree. On the x-axis, I do R and then X, I do R and then Y, R and then Z. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let me get everyone's attention again real quick. Back to the PowerPoint. So what's really important here is that you understand what a mesh is and what a mesh isn't. When I mentioned earlier that Blender supports a million different things, it does. These are all examples of non-meshes. So this menu that you see on the left here is called the Add menu, and it's visible in Blender near the top. If you're in object mode, it's different. So it's right here in object mode. And it lets you add all sorts of things. I can see people still like modeling. I want your guys' attention. I know you want it. Like you're gonna get like another 15 minutes in a second. I swear to God. I know how much fun it is to like fool around, but I really want you guys to at least like pick up on these things. So the add menu is up here, and this lets you add all the different types of objects that Blender allows for. Okay. I see you, S. Chase. I just want your attention. Well, he keeps going. I think I don't know if I'm muted. Okay. So yeah, add is up here. Shift A also does the same. These are all objects that are not meshes. What's important that you understand here is that a mesh has geometry, right? Like here, look at this monkey that I just spawned in. It's called Suzanne. It's all points, right? Points. If I zoom in, it doesn't get any more detailed. However, if I do surface, I do like a NURBS surface. This surface has infinite detail. It's defined by these curves and interpolated between them. So this is like a fundamentally different kind of thing. We're working strictly with geometry today. So you can tell that something is geometry when in this panel up here, it's like a triangle. That's sort of the indicator. In fact, here, just to make this a little bit easier for those of you that are split screening, I'm going to go ahead and make my screen be like really zoomed in like that so you guys can see. Also, there we go. Cool. Yeah. Triangle. Triangles, points. This is a mesh. All of the things that were on the PowerPoint just now are not meshes, right? So metaballs, we've got text, there's the curve, there's some lights. In your world right now, if you guys didn't delete the camera or the light, there's a camera and a light just sort of hovering around. So if you go to like object mode and you click on them, you can delete them. That's just something that you should be aware of. Right, a mesh, it's a type of object. There's many types of objects. Mesh does not mean that it's like a contiguous piece of geometry. So it doesn't have to be like a single, continuous chunk, right? Like a character that has a chain hanging from their neck. It might all be like the same mesh, even though the chain is not like manifold with the mesh of the body. You'll also hear the word static mesh. Static mesh is synonymous, so you should know that. Static mesh, geometry. I mean the same thing when we're saying these things. The general workflow in Blender, so you guys know, is if you're doing 3D modeling, is you delete everything but the cube. You delete the camera, you delete the light, you don't need them. You work on one mesh at a time. So you just one object, probably on the cube. You start with the cube, you can start with other primitives. And then you export that mesh from an otherwise empty Blender environment. So you want to keep your Blender environment clean. You operate strictly within one mesh at a time. So, quick review. RGS, rotate, grab, scale. I'm going to say that so many times because it's very important. Rotate, grab, scale is like the operation to do everything. XYZ constrains any operation in Blender. And these rotate, grab, scale things, they work in other places as well. So, like I said, scaling apart points on a curve in like another window of Blender will actually like respond the same way. You can rotate points. Like there's some really weird stuff that you'll see that RGS is like so universal in Blender. 1, 2, 3 is in edit mode. It's how you switch from face, edge, and vertex mode. For the most part, you want to stay in face select mode. That'll make it a lot easier to work with geometry, but you can switch to the other two whenever you need to. Maybe you need to delete an individual point. X is like the universal delete button in Blender. I think the delete key on your keyboard works as well. I think they do the same thing. And middle mouse button is all things related to view. So with that said, I want to give you guys another 10 minutes to actually like fool around. What really matters is that you practice these concepts today. I was going to give a little live demo. I'll just fool around, and if you want to watch me, you can. Or you can do your own thing. I'll give you 10 minutes, and then I'll give me 5 minutes to give a demo. So I'll just put on a little 10-minute timer and let you guys fool around until around 3:45. I'll answer any questions as well. It's great when you guys aren't muted. I know, like, it's all good. I'm just saying, like, feel free to chat. It's I love the axe. That's pretty good. The person making the axe, Prez, you definitely know what you're doing. It's very solid.
I am rather rusty.
How long has it been?
The last proper modeling that I've done was probably like early last year.
Gotcha. Solid. It's all right. I'm making
abominations here.
I see you extruding random like individual points. Or is that? Sorry, who was that just said that? Actually, I'm responding to Chase.
It's Mike. I'm not streaming. I can't stream. It's
Gotcha. I mean,
I was just testing random parts fit, so I've made a shape. Because I just went down the line of like grabbing, rotating.
Yeah,
stuff.
That's how.
So I made this like abominate. It kind of looks like a camera.
You can make a tree that way really easily. Here, let me, if you want, Mike, and anyone that's curious, if you look at my screen, I'm gonna use the add menu to add. Like here, I'll do like a little tutorial on how to make a tree. We'll do super fast. I'm gonna add a cylinder.
I made a really weird looking tree.
I see that. Yeah.
If it's even a tree.
No, it counts. It counts. It definitely counts. That's solid.
Why am I not? There we go.
I've got a cylinder on my screen right now. What I'm gonna do is when you first add a cylinder, if you don't click anywhere else, like when you first add anything in Blender, if you don't click anywhere, you get a little menu on this bottom left down here, and it's like it's context sensitive. So it's whatever you last did, this menu comes up. I'm gonna reduce the vertices down to like 12, so it's kind of low poly, and then I can just rotate, extrude, rotate, extrude, rotate. You know, just do chaotic like kind of shapes. Make it skinnier as we go up. E R S E R S E R S, and then at the top you can just do E S E, S, E, S, and just sort of E, S, E, maybe a little rotation, S, E, S. And now we got basically a tree. If we want to, we can add some branches. We do like a little E, R, E, R, S, E. There we go. Tree. Yeah, and I mean this is like
I watched you do that, and I know how you did that, but at the same time,
it's okay. It's okay. Just ERS, ERS. Like that's all I'm doing, right? It's ERS. Just eyeball it, and yeah, you're probably wondering, by the way, when you just press R, it's rotating it around the vector from your screen to like the point. You know what I'm saying? Like if you draw a line from your screen through whatever point you're looking at, your center of rotation, that's what it's rotating around. So if you just keep rotating your view around while you do the ERSing, you'll chaotically add these sort of aesthetic little rotations like that. Yeah.
I missed it. How did you make the branch? Did you just extrude from the side?
Yeah. I just picked up a random side like this, and I just went like scaled it down, rotated it kind of like this, and yeah. It doesn't look great from all angles, but that's because the branch is like very flat and stylized.
Yeah.
Ooh, starting to see some of the glitchiness that we're going to talk about in a bit. I really want you guys to get comfortable with this. Like, this is.
Can you extrude those sides as cylinders, or are they stuck extruding as like the shape that they came out as?
That's a good question. That's a good question. So if you wanted a cylinder to come out of the side of your tree, that's like such a reasonable and important question. Like there's an add-on made just to answer this question in Blender. Actually, believe it or not. Here's the thing. There's a set amount of geometry here, right? So if we want to extrude something that's like connected to this, it's going to have 4 points.
Mm-hmm.
How do we introduce more points? Well, there's a few ways. If I right click and do subdivide, I can, increase the number of points. And now we can get maybe a more cylindrical shape out of these somehow. I won't go into that just yet. But this actually creates issues. Create something called an n-gon. We're going to cover it towards the end of today's presentation. By that time, you're going to be exhausted. But n-gons are like the bane of your existence. Because this polygon right now, you see my screen, has 5 sides. And anything more than 4 sides is bad. So I'll get to why, but it's very bad. It's like horribly bad and should be avoided. So yes, we can. There's other ways to do branches on the side of this tree rather than making it a connected piece of geometry. What you could do, I'm just doing Control-Z right now to undo the n-gon thing.
What I do.
What you could do is you could add another cylinder here. So the way to do that, we need to this floating guy, like here on the left, you see this little button that says cursor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this lets you position the cursor when you click. This is called the 3D cursor, and it is positioned on the surface of whatever you click on, I think. So if I like click here, it puts it on the surface of the tree. Click there, on the surface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click where I want to add a branch, like here. And then I'm going to do Shift A, or I can go to the Add menu. I can add a cylinder, and it'll add it right there. And then I can sort of rotate this, scale it down, and then select. Ooh, gotta go back to the selection mode, and then do that.
Okay, yeah.
So you're welcome to like just drop a cylinder on your mesh. You can do that. You can get away with that 100%, and it's not an issue. It's not necessarily best practice, but it's what I would do in this case, honestly. It just has the potential to create issues down the line. We've got about 2 minutes left, by the way. So keep messing around, you guys. Maybe challenge yourself to make something. Maybe we could do a boat. if you're like in a really messy state of Blender, Control N, and then clicking on General will reset your Blender to the starting scene. Control N, as in like new, will fix that if you're not happy with the state of your creations.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, what's up, Chase?
My Blender is using up a ton of memory, and I've had this issue, but like I can only stay in Blender and use it for like 5 minutes of actively like control-zing and doing anything before it just crashes because it uses up too much memory. And I think it's because of a memory leak. Do you know how to fix that?
That's okay. That's whack. And on the bottom right-hand corner of your stream, it shows how much memory it's using, and it says 842 megabytes. 843, 844.
It does not go down.
It does not go down.
The more I move the camera, the more it goes up, and it's alarming.
That's crazy. Yes, I have a guess for why that might be happening. Go to your preferences. So click Edit on the top left, and then click Preferences. And I think under System, there undo memory limit. See the undo? Oh, yeah. What? Oh, the screen share is being kind of weird. See the undo memory limit? It's like make that like, I don't know what units that's in. Oh, it's in megabytes. Set that to like 200 megabytes or something. See if that, try to, I mean,
I set it to 200.
Yeah, do you?
Oh no.
It is just going up. That's kind of wild. Yeah, you're almost at a gigabyte of RAM. Your Blender is weird to begin with. What version of Blender are you on? I should be able to see on it. I can't actually
update it. 2.82.
Okay. Aren't we on Blender? I think we're on Blender 3.6 now. Are we? Am I clowning? Hold on.
I'm on 3.6.2.
Yeah, you should definitely update your Blender. You're on a very old version. Yeah.
How do you do that?
You just go online and download the newest version.
Understand.
Yeah. It'll I think overwrite the old one in the same directory. I am 2.8 is a lot of versions ago. That's also why when I was telling you to press M, it's Alt M on older versions of Blender. Yeah. And I can tell that your interface is weird too. There's a couple of like wonky things that I see that are not like that by default anymore. Definitely just install a new version of Blender. It's very lightweight. This should take you like 4 seconds. Like, go.
Wasn't Blender 3 like multiple years ago?
Blender.
I remember hearing something about it.
No, that was the big update was from Blender 2.6. So Blender was stuck in 2.6 from the years of like 2009 to like 2015 or something. And then
oh wow.
And then development got like aggressively revived and it really took off.
What was the version that like changed the UI? I remember
2.7 or whatever came after 2.6. I think they went from 2.69 to 2.7. 2.8 came out like a month later. So yeah, 2.8 is definitely like 2018 or something. It's a little old.
Yep.
It's a little old.
That'll do it.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
When I downloaded this thing.
Yeah, that'll definitely do it. Make sure you guys update your Blender version. Every new version of Blender adds so much stuff too. Like, you know that meme of death, and it's like there's like 3 open doors. He's like walking down a hallway, and they're all like there's blood coming out of them, and he's about to knock on like the 4th one or something. It's a common meme format. Is that? Anyways, whatever. That's Blender. Blender just keeps taking down better software, and it's wonderful. It's great. Just so good. Okay, great. Hi. So, let me do a little demo. If I can just get your attention for like 5 minutes here. I'm going to challenge myself using the tools that we covered. And I'm going to, you guys already saw the tree, or some of you saw the tree. I already did like a little jet thing. I'm going to try to do this building and this boat in a really short amount of time and just show you that they can be done with extruding and scaling. They're just sort of different approaches, but that's what I'm going to show you. So here we go. let's start with a boat. So I entered edit mode. You didn't see me click on it because I hit tab. It's a nice keybind for that, but I didn't want to teach you guys that because there's already like a lot of keybinds. But tab cycles between object and edit mode. And for a boat, I mean, boat is literally, we're just gonna do this. Actually, maybe we'll do like this and then, no. We'll do that and then we'll do that. And we're basically done. We could bring this all down, scale it up a bit, E, scale, E, and then we can ES, and then EE, and then maybe like E, and scale that down. Boat. Actually, wait. I realized those walls were paper thin. Let's do ES and then scale it down. There we go. Boat. Nice. Great. So just an example of like something you can very quickly model in Blender. Let's do that building. So back to the cube. I'm just gonna do what I'm gonna do is gonna be kind of weird and unorthodox. We're never gonna have to do this again. I'm gonna do EY2. Whoop. What I meant to say was I'm gonna do EY2, -2. So you guys, I didn't tell you this. It's a little secret. You can type in numbers in the middle of an action. So see on the top left over here, it's like scrolling by the numbers, like -27 meters or 5 meters on the top left here of my screen. I can actually just start typing without, if I haven't clicked my mouse yet, I can do 2 and then hit enter. I can do EY2, 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 and I've just extruded exactly 2 meters repeatedly. The reason this is necessary right now is because I haven't taught you other tools, and I want to prove that this can be done without using some of the other tools that would have made that a lot less unorthodox. But just grab this, move it up, grab this part of the building, and then maybe this part, scale that in, put it down like that. Oh, we need like windows, so maybe we could we'll do this real quick, so that we can get this kind of layer there, and then maybe that, and then we can select like all of this stuff and make it into an awning. Maybe we can make 2 different awnings here, and then this little ceiling right here, we can do this, that, and then maybe the air conditioning that we could see on the roof earlier. Do a little thing like that, maybe like that, and then I don't know, but yeah, I hope that like in seeing how someone else models, like watching people model is a very, very good way to pick up certain techniques on like how to best approach certain situations. I can make this into like a little doorstep, maybe make this its own individual window, drag these both in a little bit, cool. Yeah, I don't know, building, yay. Building. It's easier to do in other ways, but with just extruding and scaling, I didn't even rotate once. Extrude, scale, I didn't type in any numbers. You can make buildings and things like this. E and S. My left hand is just sitting on the E and S keys, and my right hand is on my mouse. And it's pretty simple. You have a pretty easy time. But let's go a little deeper. So back to the PowerPoint. Let's break down, the process here and slip the surly bonds of extrusion. This is us before, and this is us now. We're about to untie our hands, free ourselves from the bonds of just using nothing but the E key and the S key. So it makes your life a lot harder. There's easier ways to solve a lot of the problems that we're running into. So 3D modeling in general is a cycle of 2 processes. You select some geometry and then you do something to that geometry. That's it. It's just this back and forth of, select some faces, move them, select some faces, scale them, extrude from them, delete them. we're gonna learn some of these other tools now, and they're going to help you move a lot faster. Do you guys? We can take a longer break right now and actually practice some more. Do you guys feel ready to touch on more tools, or do you think that it would be better to do more practice, like another 10 minutes or something of just messing around and trying to make something? What are we thinking? Little group vote here. Hold on. Vote there. See in the high command channel. Just add some reactions, guys. What are we thinking? Move on, or we can move on? Okay. All right. Okay. Good. Cool. Okay. So loop cuts, subdivision, merging, generating faces. We're gonna cover all these things. The first thing is loop cuts in Blender. So this is loop cuts. This is me doing that same building using loop cuts rather than extruding 59 times, like to the side and making a bunch of cubes. With loop cuts, you just insert these sort of cuts into your geometry, like that. See what I'm doing here? I keep just inserting whenever that yellow line pops up. Bang. And it just lets you, generate these cuts that loop around the entire model. So this is done with Control R, and then you scroll to add more. Loop cuts. All right. Next. Selection tools. You press C to circle select. C is, you might have seen me pull this up randomly while I was modeling. I was trying to make a point of not using it, but I kept forgetting because it's so useful for quickly grabbing a bunch of surfaces. You just press C, your mouse cursor turns into a little circle, and you can drag over your mesh and pick up different chunks. You can also box select, which is just dragging a box by pressing B. I think by default, if you just start clicking and dragging an empty space, it box selects. I'm just not used to that. But I saw some of you guys were doing that, and I was like, all right, cool. More power to you. Yeah, C and B, circle, box. These are pretty, hopefully, intuitive keybinds. I really hope they're memorable. And the reason I'm focusing so much on keybinds and not showing you where the buttons are on your screen is because, yeah, the buttons are obvious, but what makes Blender so powerful is the keybinds. If you can learn the keybinds, it makes you dramatically faster. And speed is important, right? You don't want to spend 2 hours making a tree. You want to be able to do it in 10 minutes or 20 minutes or something. So it's good to get used to the keybinds as quickly as you can. A selects everything. Double tapping A deselects everything. Also a really important keybind that I should have told you earlier. I don't actually know if there's a button for this one. It's probably somewhere on the screen, but A and double tapping A, very, very important. Very important. A, double tap A. Select all, deselect all. Real quick before we move on, what the hell are loops anyways? I told you about loop cuts. You're probably thinking, okay, a loop because it generates a loop around your mesh. Yes, sort of. Loops are part of a greater concept of what's called edge flow, or clean topology, and it's sort of the flow of geometry over an object. It's especially important in organic modeling, but it's important everywhere. This over here is just a random YouTube thumbnail that I found, but I was like, yeah, that makes sense, because generally, if you ever go into 3D modeling as a career, if any of you in this call are interested in that, you will be evaluated on the cleanness of your topology. So they usually are like, hey, you have 48 hours to make us a gun or something. They'll ask you to model something. And having clean topology is part of what you're judged on. So it's good to get an understanding of this. I'm not going to go into the details today. I just wanted to give you this idea of topology and why it's important. You'll see a little bit more of that later in the presentation. But this is me selecting loops, and this is a good opportunity to kind of show you what a loop is. If you hold down Alt and you click on an edge, you will sort of traverse your mesh in the direction of in the direction perpendicular to the edge that you clicked on. So like if I was to click on this edge here with the red line, it selects the, it sort of just starts traversing like to the left, for instance, and it goes down the rectangles and it loops all the way around. That's how this algorithm works. And it selects the entire loop. It's what you would call a loop. If I click on this edge, it selects all of this geometry in a giant loop. So loops. There's loops everywhere in your geometry. A useful example with this building is like you see the edge of the awning. I could very quickly select the entire edge of the awning, like by just alt clicking on one face. And then instead of just click going around the entire building, click. Like even with circle select, you wouldn't be precise enough. With box select, you wouldn't be precise enough. So that's how you save yourself a ton of time. You hold alt and you click on an edge, selects everything around it, and then you can scale it, you can rotate it. Like we could make this awning fatter or skinnier, or we could extrude it and give it like a lip, So very quick way to select the edge of the loop and then perform an operation on it. So yeah, let's put these to use. This is me like modeling in 2x speed, like a little stealth fighter jet. I make some loop cuts. I use circle select there. And then I use alt. Look at that, just quickly grab the whole loop. And I was just going super fast. But I'm grabbing loops all over the place. And I've made like a little stealth jet. Back to the building example, right? If I wanted to grab a loop, I could just go alt. And now I've grabbed, this entire, that entire loop. So, and now I can scale it down. Be like, oh, cool. That's an interesting little style. Loop cuts, right? When you scroll, you add more. Take away some.
Okay, so it's not.
Yeah. I will. It is now 4, and let's take a quick. I'm gonna let you guys mess around with these new tools. So, Control R equals loop cut. We also learned about alt, click, select loops. What else did we just learn? We also learned about circle select and box select. I'm gonna start like a 5-minute timer. Like mess around with these. Circle select, box select, do your thing. And yeah, I'll keep watching the streams. I'll answer any questions as well. But yeah. See if you can see how box select or circle select work. See if you can get comfortable with that. If it helps you somewhere. I would try to make a building. That might be if I was you guys, I think buildings are a really fun thing to practice on. So, yeah. I'll drop a cube in, and I'll follow along with some of you guys. You can do some loop cuts where you want to like extend a chunk of it. Feel free to copy me exactly. Do whatever.
What's the keybind to change like to wireframe mode and all that?
Right, it's Z, and then there's a little circle menu. It's also on the top right of your screen.
That's what I've been using, but that's a lot faster.
Yeah. And I'm not. I only did that to like show you guys. I didn't want to teach you because I have to like really pick and choose what I want to go over today because there's so much stuff, and if you're completely new to Blender, it's I'm sure kind of overwhelming. So I'm sorry for not, keeping some things hidden. I try to not use the things that I've not taught yet. What's up? I heard a This is a very powerful
I'm just trying to think of what I should model.
I'm doing some abstract art.
And how could I add a new cube into the world that's like separate? So
If you're in
Is that a
object
possibility?
mode, yeah. So if you're in object mode and you add
I see. Okay.
another mesh, it'll be a separate object. But if you're in edit mode and you do the add menu, you'll see it only lets you add meshes.
Yeah.
But it'll be a separate like chunk of mesh, but it'll be part of the same object.
I just wanted it different so that I could like press A. Oh wait, A still. Oh wait, that's an object mode.
To select and deselect. What are you trying to do?
I want to just select all the faces on this cube, but not on the tree.
Okay.
Is that a thing?
It is a thing. It is a thing.
Okay.
The keybind. Okay. All right. So yeah, it's L. The keybind is L.
Oh.
Hover over it and press L. Hover over it and press L.
I see. Okay.
Shift L is the inverse of that. But what that's L is saying select contiguous mesh pieces. Don't.
Yeah. That makes
Everyone
sense.
else listening, you don't need to know that. I would have just made it like separate in object mode. So they're currently part of the same object, right? Delete that cube.
No, they're separate.
Oh, what?
Like,
Are you in edit mode for both of? Wait, hold on. Go to object mode. Wait,
like,
click on the
I'm in
cube.
object mode.
Click on the cube. Now go into edit mode. Okay, press A. Or double tap A. Yeah, see, the reason, okay, so ever since Blender like 2.9 or something, you can select multiple objects and enter edit mode for both of them simultaneously, which is what you did. You had the tree and so edit mode is for whatever you have selected, and if that happens to be multiple meshes, you'll enter edit mode for all of them.
Okay. I see.
The quirks, I'm sorry. I'm doing my best to make this sound like a really simple and not complicated software, but that would be a lie. But like, it's not that bad, but it's got a learning curve. I would understand the,
Also, I'm asking like kind of more complicated questions.
No, you're fine. I just feel bad for it if anyone's like paying really close attention to what we're saying and is already like anxious or stressed.
Another kind of complicated question maybe is.
Hold on, Chase. Wait. I heard.
Can I stretch in or scale in both X and Y direction? Or
you can by pressing Shift and the direction that you don't want. So like Shift Z is X and Y.
Okay.
Shift X is Z and Y.
So...
That constrains it to a plane.
Ooh, that didn't. Wait, what did I just press? Okay, it's fixed.
A S Shift Z. Shift Z. There you go.
Awesome.
See? Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chase, you had a question?
Oh, okay. I don't know why I'm in wireframe. I don't know how to get out of this, but
because you're stuck in wireframe. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
All right. How do I get this to go? Like, I want this to be flat at the top but slanted at the bottom.
Okay. So what you could do? Think about what would happen if you scaled it to 0. So what you can do is select the faces that you want to flatten out, and then SZ0. So nice, you flattened it. Now the problem is you had duplicate geometry. So let's do Control Z real quick. You've got quite a bit. Okay, now select everything. Press M.
Shift.
And do by distance. Click by distance. Okay, see on the bottom of your screen it says remove 36 vertices. Very bottom middle. Yeah, there's a bunch of duplicate. Now try it again. SZ0. Nice. Cool. So you know, the reason you keep getting duplicate geometry, take a quick look at my screen. Let me know when you're looking.
I'm looking. Yeah, looking.
Okay. So if I extrude this, extrude sort of does two things. It generates new geometry. It generates this like loop of geometry between the face that I just extruded from and the like original mesh. And it puts us into grab mode. And it constrains us to the normal of the surface that we were on. Normals, do you know what normals are?
No.
That's all good. Don't worry about it. Okay, never mind. Whatever. It constrains us to an axis. So we're in grab mode right now for this. I haven't left-clicked or right-clicked yet. This is what happens when you press E. If I right-click to cancel, the geometry is actually still there. You have to then do Control Z to get rid of the geometry. I just did Control Z and it's gone. You can't see it. If you've used Blender long enough, you start to see the thickness of the white lines on the edges. You start to realize if it's like darker, you're like, oh, there's multiple pieces of geometry there. It's always a quick fix, but it's the biggest mistake that beginners make. So when you press E, never just right click on extrusion. If you're going to cancel it, right click and then immediately do Control Z. Or maybe right clicking was intentional, right? So sometimes I extrude, I right click, and then I scale, and I'm pulling in that geometry that I extruded. So sometimes it's a very intentional thing, but it's something to be aware of. You're generating duplicate geometry if you extrude and you only cancel and then do nothing else.
All right.
Yeah.
Ooh. What? Darn it.
I'm gonna.
Why is it diagonal now?
Okay, I'm gonna give us 2 more minutes here.
Hey, these are recorded, right?
Yeah. Everything's
All
recorded.
right, good, because I have to go.
Absolutely.
Something came up. All right, see ya.
See ya. Okay. Just flipping through what's left here.
But what's the button to do loop cuts?
Control R. That's probably the weirdest keybind that we've gone over. Like, how is R loop cut? You know, I don't know. Yeah. But yeah.
Wait, oh, hold up for a second.
We're almost done. There's like 2 small tools left to cover. This one concept and then cleaning up your mesh. So like tools, concepts, and then mesh cleanup, and then we're pretty much done. For those of you that are waiting to leave or like excited to get out for some reason. I hope not. I hope this has been like insightful, but yeah. All right, we're got 45 seconds. Give us 45 more seconds. I'll hang out after the PowerPoint as well. Like we can keep, messing around, but I want to make sure that I record everything that it is that we want to cover, so that so that it's there for other people to look back on and learn from.
I think I'm done with mine.
Done with your creation?
Yes.
Oh, hold on. Let me press. That's you. It's like a bedpost or a lava lamp, perhaps, and yeah. or an award for being the best tax collector. Get that reference? I hope you get that reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi.
Cool, great. That's good. Yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once was an incredible movie. All right, out of time. Back to my PowerPoint, guys, real quick. Couple more tools, and we're just gonna streamline through the remainder of the presentation, and I'll leave you guys to like mess around. All right. So where we left off, we just covered loops. We covered loop cuts, alt clicking to select loops. M is for merging. You can select a bunch of points, and you can press M, and you can merge. Beautiful. This is also a part of the cleanup process. We'll look at the cleanup process in a bit. But it's pretty useful. Here's the same little stealth drone thing that I made a minute ago. You see me selecting these points that add no detail and merging them into each other. That's kind of just a technique. If you have some like points that are all sitting on the same line and you're trying to optimize your model, reduce the number of triangles that the model is made up of, you just start like merging points left and right, especially if they don't add anything. Filling. F. You can fill holes. Here's a model of the Pantheon I made for a Latin project in like 10th grade. You press F and bang, you can fill a hole. If you select a bunch of points and you press F, it fills it with a face. Pretty chill. We can repair this poor monkey's missing brain by pressing F multiple times, and it will try to fill a hole. So if you just select a point on like the edge of a hole, I'm just pressing F here, and it's automatically trying to cross over the hole and fill it. It's not always useful, but it's worth noting It's a little technique, little trick. This is a concept that might take a second for some of us, but it's an important one. It's a very important one. Multiple coordinate systems and pivot points. So in the top middle of your screen, you're probably wondering where those buttons are. They're right here. It's this guy and this guy are pretty important when you're 3D modeling. So let's talk about them. That's animation. that's next. That one starts at 5. Origins and pivot points in Blender. There's all these different options right here. 3D cursor, individual origins, median point, active element. This is the center around which your different translations are going to happen. When you rotate something, it's rotating around some center. Where is that center? I don't know. It's defined by what you have selected here. So the object origin, you guys might have noticed this little floating orange point. It's in the middle of your cube when you first start. It's in the middle of like any object. And that is the origin of the object. So when you're in object mode and you're working on something, you're rotating it around that origin. You're scaling it around the object origin. This is important. When you export it to Unreal Engine, that is going to be treated as the center of mass. So the object will like bounce around that as its center of mass, which is kind of wonky sometimes. It's something worth noting. You can adjust it in edit mode, so you can take that orange point and explicitly move it somewhere. Like for most characters, it'll be at their feet, or for a tree or something, it would be at the base of the tree. That's typically how it's done for game engines. But yeah. Median point. The median point is going to be the point that's in the middle of everything you have selected. Like see right here, I'm rotating a bunch of monkeys around. These are multiple objects with multiple origins, but when I rotate or scale them, it rotates around this like point in the middle of space. You can see from the black line that I'm dragging, it's like right there. Same goes for edit mode, of course. When you're in edit mode and you have multiple faces selected and you're on median point, which is the default setting, it scales them from their center point. That's kind of like, this will trip you up. So let me show you how this trips you up, right? We were on our building earlier and we had an awning. Here is a lopsided building that we want to give an awning to. If I select all of that and I scale it out, great, we have an awning now. But what if I only wanted an awning on this side? If I scale this out, notice how weird and lopsided that is, because it's scaled from the median point, which was probably like out here somewhere. So it's scaled that way, it's scaled that way, it's scaled that way. That's a problem. So instead, there's situations where you want to scale by individual origins. And we'll take a look. So back to the slideshow. That was median point. 3D cursor, right? That's the 3D cursor. You can adjust it by clicking that button on the left. I think I showed that to someone earlier. You don't need to, don't worry about that. Individual origins. If you select, yeah, look at this. I extrude a bunch of individual faces. If I scale them down, I can scale them as individuals. I can even extrude them as individuals and get this like wild effect. That's what happens when you have the individual origin button selected. What this is doing is it's saying these are disconnected pieces of mesh. Sure, they're on the same object, and sure they're actually part of the same uniform mesh, but the selected pieces that we have selected are not directly connected to each other, so it treats them all as individual chunks. And it says, what's the origin of each one? Okay, let's scale around that. Let's rotate around that. And then finally, active element. This is another one of those Blender universal truths. The last thing that you select is highlighted. You've probably noticed this. There's like different colors. Whenever you select something, it gets highlighted. That's called the active element. So again, in Blender, if we have objects, notice this cube has this light orange surrounding it. If I select this lamp, the cube is now dark orange and the lamp is light orange. If I select the camera, now both of these guys are dark orange and the camera is light. It's our active element. So if I change this to, if this is median point, it's rotating around the center point of all of them. If I make it active element, it's going to rotate around the camera because the camera is the active element. It's the last thing that was selected. If I scale, it scales to and from the camera, right? Individual origins, you see the difference, right? This makes sense to everyone. I hope this makes sense. It's very useful for modeling. Let me show another example of where it's useful for modeling. Here is that little jet from earlier that I was kind of spamming out. There's a situation that comes up when I model this thing with the wings. So here's the wings, right? If I extrude these and then I scale them down, if I try to scale them on the y-axis right now, and they are set to individual origins, what's going to happen? They each got flattened on the y-axis. I did SY0. If I try to scale them from their median point, and I do SY, it's now scaling from the center point. So I can actually like drag them out like that, which is really, really nice. And now our wingtips are perfectly flat. If I try to go back to individual origins now, I can rotate them individually on the x-axis, or if I extrude like that and then extrude like this. If I tried to make these wingtips skinnier and I was on median point and I try to scale them down on the y-axis, this happens. But if I'm on active or individual origins, I can scale them down like that. You see what I'm doing? Scale them down like that, grab them like that. Cool. Right? So this is really important. That's really important. The two ones that you're going to use are median point and individual origins. Active element has its uses. Active element is very useful if you want to flatten something relative to another thing. So say I want the front of this jet to be flush with I don't know if it is right now. Here, I'll move it out here. Say I want this piece to be flush with this section, this like outer square. What I can do is, as long as the active element is like this guy, see how this point is white? If I zoom in, it doesn't get any bigger, but this point is now white. Now, if I do SX0, I have scaled it to 0 on the x-axis, but treating this as the origin. So we've flattened it on the x-axis. So that's another technique, slightly more advanced. But the three techniques here: individual origins, median point, active element. That's it. That's what you need to know how to use. Okay, we're almost done. I'm making a beeline through like the last chunks here. Alternative coordinate systems. So global is what the default is, and I would recommend staying within that. Global follows the global XYZ axis, right? When you do SY0, it's going to scale on the global Y axis, the global X axis, which are denoted by the lines in the grid that our object is like floating on. Yeah. Local follows the orientation of the object. So whenever you rotate something in object mode, it actually keeps track of those rotations and scaling and whatever. And there's a separate coordinate space for the object. So if you then go into edit mode for that object and you've rotated that object while in object mode, you've adjusted the object's coordinate space and you can do editing in terms of that space. So whatever is up for this monkey has stayed up. Whatever is left and right has stayed left and right because I made those adjustments in object mode and then I switched to local. It doesn't really matter for our purposes. The one that is kind of useful is normal. You guys, who here doesn't? Okay, at least one person doesn't know what normals are. Actually, let me go over that. A normal is, I think this concept is first introduced in like Calculus 1. The normal line of a curve is the line that has a perpendicular slope to a curve. In Blender, they are orthogonal to a surface. So let me visualize the normals here for us. And you can see what I mean. If we go down here to normals, size, these blue hairs are the normals of every surface. It's just a line that comes flat out of the surface. That's it. That's it. That's what a normal is. But sometimes you need your operation to be aligned to the surface. For instance, if I extrude this and I wanted to I don't know, scale this down on the x-axis. Well, if I scale it down like this, look what happens. Now we have this like weird like chunk on the back. That's not what I wanted. What I wanted was for it to just get smaller, but I wanted it to stay flush with the surface. If I switch to normal mode, and now I scale it on the X or on the Y axis, see now it's doing it in terms of coordinates that are determined by this blue hair. This blue hair becomes our new Z axis, and our X axis is now that, and our Y axis is now that. So you can do operations in terms of the normal of the surface. Global, local, normal. That's it. Those are the coordinate spaces. All right, we're 90% of the way there. I'm gonna cover mesh cleanup now as well. Yeah, the inset tool. We'll get to that in a second. We'll get to that in a second. Duplicating shift. Okay, whatever. I'll cover these two. Inset. I forgot about these. Sorry. Inset lets you do the very same thing that I was doing earlier with extruding and scaling. Like when I made those windows on the building, I just pressed E and then I pressed S. Inset does the same thing, but it leaves even boundaries. It's kind of useful. And if you select multiple faces, you can hit it twice and do things really quickly. So, for instance, say I want to give this guy some like missile racks. If I press I, it gives me this like chunk out of it, which is cool. I mean, even to begin with, that's cool. We could turn this into like an air intake. Whoa. Oh yeah, we're still in terms of the we're still in terms of the normals. And see, when I scale, we're in terms of the active element. Let's fix that. Median. There we go. Global. Make this like an air intake. Cool. Great. But the point that I wanted to get to was, okay, what if I wanted this to also have like little bay doors? I press I, and then I can press I again and inset the individual faces, and then we can do like Alt E. Don't worry about this. There we go. And then make this individual origins, scale it down. Let me get rid of these hairs. They're kind of annoying. But hopefully you can see that there's like different... Oh my gosh, how do I... Right, edit mode down here. There we go. Yeah, you can sort of... You can do things with inset. The windows of our building earlier, right? So if I have these two sides like this, I press I. If I press I multiple times, I can toggle how this works, but I once, you get that. I twice, get that. E, whatever. Inset, very good tool. Duplicating is Shift D, right? It works in object mode. Bam, second object. It works in edit mode. Bam, second chunk of geometry, part of the same object. Right? This is all cube 2. It's cube 1. So Shift D, duplicate. There's also Alt D. I shouldn't have said that. Just focus on Shift D. Nobody try Alt D. Don't do it. Captain's orders. don't do Alt D. It's for instancing. But that's it. That's it. Like, we have now covered every important modeling tool in Blender. There's literally only like 2 more, right? Inset, extrude, rotate, grab, scale, merge, loop cuts. That's like 99% of Blender right there. I'm not kidding. That's it. It's up to you how you use them. Not 99%, but it's like 80% of modeling is that. And the other 20% you use very rarely for very specific cases. So yeah, that is that. What we haven't learned yet is how to clean up our mesh. I know we're going on a bit of a monologue here, but give me about 5 more minutes and we're gonna be done. We're wrapping this up at like 4:30. So we're gonna talk about cleanup real quick. Earlier, you guys heard me call out, I think it was Chase, for duplicate geometry a couple of times. Or I don't know if it was Chase or if it was Dion. But duplicate geometry gets in your way. Who was that? Who was that?
It was Chase.
It was Chase. Duplicate geometry gets in your way. And it's one of the multiple issues that you can run into. So it's very easy to fix these. Yeah, these are all the tools that we just covered. So we're going to talk about this. Duplicate geometry, Z-fighting, and n-gons. These are like the 3 kind of main issues that you're going to see in Blender. Z-fighting isn't as like, you can't see it as much because they changed the rendering engine and it looks better now, but doubles is when your geometry is stacked on top of itself. Duplicate geometry, whatever. You'll hear it called doubles by some old Blender veterans from like 2010 because that's what it used to be called back then. And then n-gons is whenever a polygon has more than 4 sides. Why should you clean up a model? Clean geometry makes for a better modeling experience. There's a lot of tools that will not work unless your geometry is clean. Clean geometry also means that when you export it to Unreal Engine or to any game engine, it's going to look the same that it looked in Blender. If your geometry has n-gons, it might look bad in Unreal Engine. It might look different. Like it might resolve large chunks of your model differently than it would have looked in Blender because n-gons are ambiguous. You'll see exactly what I mean in a second. Unclean geometry is also almost impossible to effectively texture. It gets in the way of some UV unwrapping. So what exactly does unclean mean? Here's n-gons. This should scare the crap out of you when you see it. You'll come to learn why very soon. Look at the top face of this cube. How many sides does that top face have, guys?
1.
7.
7. It's got 7 sides. seven sides.
Oh, never mind the dot. Yeah, never mind.
The edges. There's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sides to the top. 7 sides to the side as well. Terrible. Here's an n-gon. I just took a bunch of chunks of my raptor model and I just turned them into one big face. This little like flat gray area is one face. It's a polygon. It looks weird. You don't see the depth on it. You have no idea what it looks like from different angles, but you can fix it really quickly by triangulating it, which is what I do there at the end. Look at it from the side. It's weird. Like there's this kind of weird wonky line there. You don't really know where the triangles are, but a computer can't magically render a polygon. It triangulates it. Rendering requires triangles. Even all of the squares on any model that you work with are turned into triangles. When you're looking at them, they are triangles. You can't edit the triangles in Blender unless you like explicitly triangulate it. But behind the scenes, everything is triangles. That's the point that I'm getting to. And an n-gon can be triangulated many different ways, arbitrarily. You can triangulate it. There's like numerous solutions, right? I mean, imagine a square. You can draw a line from the top left to the bottom right to triangulate, or from the top right to the bottom left. That's ambiguity. And depending on where you export to, it'll triangulate differently. So here's some horrific n-gons. I just took that same cube and I pulled it apart in a really funky way. Look at this thing. Look at the side of it. That's an n-gon. I see this like line going from that point to that point. We don't really know. You know, there's some weird triangles that are being generated. Look at this one. It goes from, there's a triangle there, obviously. Hell, even here, this is a square, technically. So you see these points over here. That's a square, but it's being triangulated 2 different ways. So I'll visualize that a bit better. I think the GIF was not the best call there. It's a little easier to show this to you live. Here's a cube. Oh, let me delete these guys. I was like, yeah, where's my camera? There we go. Here's a cube. Okay, look at this. If I move these 2 points up, this is still one face. But look at this. It triangulated this way. You can tell that it triangulated this way because otherwise we would see a big gray blob filling in this space. But it has drawn a triangle there. You can also triangulate this that way. Right? It's a square. Squares are fine. They're very important for a lot of algorithms that rely on loops because loops traverse squares. So whenever you select like an edge loop, it just follows the path of the squares. So squares are very good. In fact, your model should be mostly squares. You don't want to have too many triangles. But even squares are not coplanar. They're not always on the same plane. And that creates issues. So you got to be aware of this stuff. N-gons are in general just terrible. We can introduce an n-gon right here by just creating a new point there. And then bang, suddenly this face is ambiguous. It's no longer a plane. you can kind of see what's going on here. So if I look at it from the side, we see this line show up. So we can see that it has triangulated it from here to here, and then from here to here. That's the triangles that Blender chose. But if I triangulate it by pressing Control T, it picks a different solution. Inconsistent. So n-gons, very bad. N-gons are very bad. So yeah, ambiguity, multiple solutions. You can't traverse an n-gon in a loop-related algorithm. They're very weird for texturing. Triangles or quads. How many edges should a polygon usually have? 4. 4. 4 is the answer. You want to have 4 edges to almost all of your polygons. That's best practice. Another bad situation is when there's duplicated geometry. So this is me extruding repeatedly and then just leaving it there, and you get copies of the geometry sitting on top of each other. I'm not extruding, I'm just grabbing here. This is a floating piece of geometry. All of this can be resolved in like 3 buttons. Cures for the diseases. For n-gons, you can select all the n-gons on your mesh. There's a button for it, and you just triangulate them, and you're basically fixed. Like, that's the sloppy solution. There's a faster, or it's better to carefully look at them and fix each one by hand. But the sloppy solution is you just select them all and press Control T to triangulate. For duplicate geometry, you just select all of the geometry and you press M to merge by distance. And what that does is it finds points that are too close to other points and it just merges them. Perfect. Instantly fixed. Floating geometry, you can select non-manifold pieces and delete them. Done. Great. Like, you fixed it. So that's how you fix a mesh. The last thing, uniform polygon density. You kind of want to keep your polygons uniformly dense. If you have areas on your mesh that look like this, it's not necessarily breaking any rules. It's just bad practice. So look for situations where there's like a billion points really close to each other and merge them. This can also be resolved by doing M merge by distance, like the merging by distance thing that we just talked about to resolve duplicate geometry. However, it's not, that will sometimes have collateral damage where it'll go to other parts of your mesh and mess it up. So you just got to look for these and prevent this from happening. Finally, optimization. This is Half-Life 1. This is November 2004. Alex is 8,300 triangles. That's the same as 8.5 Blender monkeys, roughly. Caviera from Rainbow Six Siege is 40,000 triangles, which is about 4.5 Half-Life 1 Alexes. But more triangles doesn't always mean more visual fidelity. This is an example of a mesh from Assassin's Creed, and it's only 6,000 triangles, which is actually less than Half-Life 1's Alex. But here, they're using really clever texturing techniques to hide that. I mean, look, this sculpture here, 6,000 triangles. This guy has 6,000 triangles. And yet, they look so detailed, and that's because of the textures. So, don't just subdivide your mesh. Don't get it up to like 40 or 100,000 triangles and be like, ooh, how very detailed. No, it's not necessarily, it's not good. In fact, it's bad. It's better to have fewer triangles, try to keep things as clean and simple as possible, and then you can do more work with the textures down the line. But yeah, that's everything. We're at the end of the presentation. Some of you guys are like, oh, finally, he's going to stop monologuing. We can go back to messing around on Blender. Today, we covered vertices, edges, faces, the mesh origin. This is other data that's stored on models, normals, UVs, material IDs. We're going to cover that 2 weeks from now when I do another lecture on either a Saturday or Sunday. We'll figure out the times. If you guys haven't filled out the survey already, the survey in the Discord, it'll tell us like what time to actually meet up for these on weekends. And this stuff down here is vertex groups and vertex colors and shape keys. This is data that lives on your model that is kind of funky and used for very specific use cases. We're going to touch on it in the animation a little bit and maybe in shaders, but it's like not important. It's not important. Not for a game jam. I want you guys to be dangerous when we get to game jamming, and I want you to be able to support your team by making them basic 3D models. Today, we've gone above and beyond that already, and this stuff down here is well above and beyond that. But if you're interested, I would be more than happy to explain it. But yeah, thanks for coming, guys. I mean, we'll continue hanging out. Dev Hour is on this Discord server every night from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. I don't think there's been a single day in the last like year where at least 1 or 2 people don't show up, which is kind of crazy. And you get points. So the DevLUp Discord bot keeps track of people's points. Some people are at like 800 points. Andrew, I think, ridiculous. He would have been at like 1,000 something if we had always been tracking in the same place. If you post your show-off work to any Discord server in DevLUp in the show-off channel and you use our bot, you get points for that as well. Points are just bragging rights, but if you know the leaders of FSU or UF decide to reward points at some point, Badoom tisk, yeah, you I don't know, maybe get a reward. It's up to them. But for us, they're just bragging rights and they're a way to keep yourself motivated to keep, I don't know, contributing game development. They also show up on our website, so whenever you post something, it ends up on devlup.org on the homepage, and I think it looks really cool. Thanks to a great effort on William's behalf, we've also seen the projects page come to life lately. You can now search for projects and see the different things that people are working on in all the different DevLUp discords. So that's that. That's a wrap, guys. You can unmute. You could unmute this whole time, but you should especially now.
I would like to say that I love the unit of measurement of Blender monkeys.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just measuring everything in how many Blender monkeys it is.
I felt like it's a really relevant unit of measurement. Yeah, it's good to see, right? I mean, we've come a long way, but to think that even a very modern Assassin's Creed is actually using less than 2004 models, like there's both some regression and progression in computer graphics. And some of this isn't even true anymore. I was like, oh, unlike Pixar, your object can't have millions of points. Unreal Engine 5 would like to have a word. Like Nanite, just hell, import your 4 million point model. Like it doesn't care. It'll just make your game bigger, but it won't run any slower, which is insane. Yeah, there's really like very few limitations to Nanite at this point. So you can get away with a lot of triangles. Just I would avoid that unless you know you're going to be working in Unreal. It's not good practice. Yeah, that's that is that, guys. 3D modeling PowerPoint. I hope you enjoyed. Do you want to see something modeled? Do you want to model something? Do you want me to answer some questions? Is there anything I can do?
I have a quick question again.
Yeah, go ahead, Chase. What's up?
How, I feel like I've probably forgotten about how would I make this trapezoid into a square with the inset? Because I was trying to figure that out. Okay,
well, inset wouldn't do that necessarily, but yeah. To make it into a square, what you could do, so you could try flattening out the side edges. So the side edges are aligned with what axis? The y-axis, right? So maybe select only the side edges and then scale them to 0 on the x-axis. Yeah, SX0. Bang.
Okay.
And then maybe, yeah.
Dang it, using control for...
I'm gonna go. I need to go eat dinner before the 5 o'clock one.
yeah, I know. This has been pretty nonstop. 5 o'clock one's gonna be on animation. Oh god, I'm gonna drink some water actually and use the restroom as well. You guys should, if you're gonna stick around for animation, yeah, by all means.
I'm here for all 3.
It's sick, awesome. I can tell you're trying to move them together. Yeah, there you go. Median point. Also, you just extruded them, so you gotta undo that. Remember, you generated the geometry. Nice. SY0. Or not yeah, SY. Don't type in 0. Yeah, there you go. Nice.
Thank you.
No, you're good. It's also, you're doing the same thing. Remember when I said that we should maybe be aligned to the normal because it's actually no longer flat on the surface? So, 32.
But it is flat.
It's not exactly flat because you scaled it on the y-axis a bit and it was tilted to begin with, I think. Right?
Well, I made it flat.
Did
it was tilted and I flattened it a while back, yes.
Gotcha.
All right. I don't know how to add propellers, but helicopter.
Oh, okay. No, we could do a propeller. Here, do this. Select the top face. Shift S. Cursor to selected. And what that'll do is it's the bottom one. That moves the 3D cursor there. Okay, and then Shift A to add some new stuff. We're gonna add a cylinder. All right, scale that down. Make it into like a whatever. Yeah. And then
Oh wait, hold on.
what you need now is to
Smart,
just select like how many propellers should this thing have? I don't really know.
Well, it's gonna be one propeller and
No, like blades, I guess is what I'm. Sorry.
oh, 4.
4 blades. Okay, so there's 32 sides. So you can select 4 every other 4. Okay. So what you're gonna do? Select the loop that goes around the side of the cylinder. Do you remember how to do that? With Alt, you hold Alt. Oh no, go back into face mode. Hold Alt, and just click on the side there. But you have to click on the side.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, lower edge. Yeah, like one of the side edges. There you go.
Yes,
Because
I
it
know what
depends
you're
which
talking
edge.
about. I remember.
There you go.
Yes.
Okay. And then now go. The select menu is to the left of the add menu. You top left where it's a little to the right of the face. Yeah, select left of that. Yes, select. Checker deselect. It's the 2 down. Yes, 2 down. Yes, and then bottom left where that little menu came up. Click on that. Open it up.
This?
Yeah. Click on that, and you can tweak those until you get like 4 every other 4. It should be like. I think there's a quick way to do this.
There we go.
Selected 4, deselected 4. So if there's 32, right? Select 4, deselect 4 times is going to be 8 times 4. There you go. That should have. Oh, that's weird. It didn't do
Those
it
are too
quite
close
right. Offset. Change the offset. You can. It's 4 but the bottom number is what you want to change. It is 4.
Oh, okay.
Until you see uniform gaps of 4 everywhere. That's 5.
That's not it.
That's 5. Ah, dude. Okay, no, this was not the solution. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought that would be the quickest way to select everything. You can manually do this if you want. Just select like 4 and then yeah, you're just gonna have to hold down Shift a lot. Oh, that's a clever way. And you want to like expand the selection out, maybe? Oh. No, never mind. I see what you're doing.
Looks uniform enough. I'm gonna be honest. It should be all right.
If you there's a strategy here that we could use to select things more quickly, but yeah, I'm sorry. I keep trying to think of like optimizations on doing things faster, and it's not. There's no reason to. There's no reason to.
Wouldn't changing how many polygons you had on the cylinder?
It would have, but I
Work
figured
as
that
well?
we should keep it like as cylindrical as possible. We could have gone for just like 4 polygons. We could have just worked on the cube itself. I didn't realize that. Maybe a cylinder of 8. Yeah, actually, that would make a lot of sense. You're perfectly right about that. Let's go with who was that? Is that Prez?
Me.
Nice,
Yeah.
Prez. Delete the cylinder. Just trust me on this. Just press. You're gonna press L while hovering over the cylinder. Okay, now delete it. X. It doesn't matter. Actually, it like doesn't matter which one. There you go. Shift A, another cylinder. But this time, on the bottom left, change the number of vertices. No, you've scaled it. Control Z.
Oh, that ruins it. Okay.
Shift A. Yeah, no, you're good. And then change the vertices. It's okay. Change that to 8.
I'm not clicking that many times.
The cool thing about Blender, those text boxes take in math. You can type in like 8 times 5 raised to the 5th or something. Like they'll react every text box in Blender.
That's pretty neat.
And now you should just be able to select. Yeah, there you go. Those 4. Yeah.
Right.
And then extrude them.
What did I do wrong there?
It's okay. I would.
Scale on individual.
You've already. Okay, there you go. E. Do E.
Sorry.
That's okay. S. Do S. And then Shift Z. Yeah, do that for now. Just trust. Okay. All right, and then now you need each of these to individually get smaller. So how are you gonna do that? Do you remember?
Sorry, one second, sorry.
Aw,
I realized something that I wanted. Sorry.
you're good.
All right, there we go.
All right.
I just wanted those to be bigger.
You're good.
Each of these need to individually get smaller, so it would be.
Indeed. And then just S, probably. Just scale them down. Yeah. You pick whatever size you like. Oop, went to negatives. Yeah, I mean, frankly, it's a pretty sick little helicopter. I like that quite a bit.
Hopefully, I can use this.
This is awesome. Like this is a game model right here. You can use this.
Yes.
What are you trying to?
X 0 no Y G. There we go.
Were you flattening it?
Now I should. Yeah, I flattened it so that
Gotcha.
way it wouldn't clip through if it were to spin. But to spin, it has to be a separate object, right? To spin.
Not at all. Not at all. It doesn't have to be a
To my
separate object. No. There's there's so many ways to solve the same problems. Like you could even make this spin in the shader. Which is I'm sorry. I know this is like the dumbest thing.
Simple.
But you
or
could,
like simple on the computer, I hope.
that would be simple on the computer, but there's no the question is like it's a question of functionality. Do you want it to like be able to tilt and do cool things like that? Do you want it to in general here, let me from the top. In no case would I make it a separate object. That would be the worst practice.
Okay.
One approach is to use armatures and rig the helicopter, which that would probably be the approach that I would go with. But there's a lot more questions of like, is it gonna have a damage model? Do you want it to be able to lose like an individual blade? Are the blades a like big
the
element
most
of the
damage
gameplay?
I'm gonna get on this is if it were like hit by a bullet. There might be like a thing that happens.
Start
to the texture,
smoking or
and
something.
Then yeah, that's about it.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to make this for a simpler second project with me and my friends.
Gotcha. Well, in that case, so the next lecture is about to be on animation. We're not going to cover rigging.
Just keep it.
Yeah, honestly, you
then.
can keep it around. I'm not going to cover rigging, which like sucks, but I'm going to cover rigging in a future lecture. I don't know why I chose to do things this way. Like in retrospect.
How did you center this again? Was it shift?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Shift S.
Shift
S. Cursor to selected, and it goes to the selection.
Right.
Yeah.
I need to write these down.
I know they're weird. There's a cheat sheet. I will drop you a cheat sheet.
Wonderful.
And if I get a cheat sheet as well,
I'll drop.
I'm not good at remembering.
There's so many of them, but like, hold on, is Shift S even covered in here? The thing is, like, Shift S is a less common keybind. I would think that it is though, because it's a really common part of the Wink flow. Ugh, there's just so many keybinds.
How do you rotate it 90 degrees exactly?
Y
90. Just type 90.
90.
Okay.
There you go.
I thought it might be that simple.
Yeah. It is. Oh. It's because no. Just do Control Shift Z. Control Shift Z is the redo.
Shift Z.
But you're in the middle of an operation. There you go.
All right.
You need to switch to selection mode. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop recording now. I've been recording the auxiliary part of the lecture. We'll move on to the next one.